What's up, everyone? I just wanted to do a video. It's going to be a long one, probably, talking about the little diet experiment that I've been doing over the last year. I just wanted to go over kind of my experiences with it. Basically, I've been doing a low vitamin A diet. I've been following Dr. Garrett Smith's Love Your Liver program. And yeah, it's basically a liver detox sort of process that I've been going on. And I just wanted to talk about like how I got here, my experiences on it, because I've definitely noticed benefits, but there's been a lot of ups and downs, and I think it's important to understand, it's important to really understand what's going on here so that you don't run into these sort of problems along the way. If you want to do this, I do encourage you to join the program. It's been quite helpful. But yes, I don't want to talk about like the whole debate about vitamin A. Like, that's not what this video is going to be about, because that's it's a huge topic, right? And it's one that I've thought about for many years. I'll leave links below to kind of go and, consume that stuff, go down that rabbit hole if you so choose. I'm not going to be talking about that here. By the way, I'm quite sunburned. I'm not usually this red. Apparently a lot of people in this program actually no longer get sunburnt, which is really strange. So I'm obviously not there yet. But yeah, so I've been doing this a year. So I started in February of 2024. So we're at March 2023 now. And I just wanted to get to the year mark to kind of decide whether or not I wanted to continue with this. Because there's a lot of things I've done over the past where, I don't stick with it, because it's usually most things don't work, right? Especially with my situation. So I wanted to get to the year mark. Also, Dr. Garrett Smith said he emphasizes that this is not a long process. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And especially based on my situation, I kind of realized my liver is in a pretty bad state going into this. So I thought, okay, well, I've got to give it a year. Originally I thought 6 months, but then I thought I've got to give it a year before deciding to stop. I really felt like this was the path that I needed to go on. So I took it, and I can say I'll be staying with it for the foreseeable future. So I just want to talk about my experiences. I was very resistant to this topic before, so I really wanted to make a video just talking about this, and I'll do follow-ups as I kind of progress on it, to see how things improve or what gets worse, how things change. Because there's definitely ups and downs. It's not just this isn't just like a miracle cure, I don't think anyone in this space is trying to sell you that, which is good, because a lot of diets are very unrealistic about what they don't tend to cover the negatives, whereas I think a lot of people in this space are very open about it. There's definitely the problem that I definitely ran into was the problem of detoxing too fast. I think basically dumping too much bile, and I had a problem with my ulcerative colitis flaring up. So I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 2017, so that's what I'm doing this program to help with, and I had a flare up recently. I'll cover this in another video, but that might seem really bad at first, but there has been a lot of other things that have improved that I'll get into, but I do think that was somewhat the result of going too hard on this program. I probably won't cover too much of that today. It's just too big a topic. I want to focus on kind of up until that point, how things have went. So previously, I've done many different diets. I was on a pretty high vitamin A diet for probably the last 6 years. I was following the Western A Price stuff since 2018, and I've done the specific carbohydrate diet, the autoimmune protocol, many different diets. But really, the Western A Price principles have stuck. So I've I've been doing cod liver oil a very long time. I did that up until 2022, which interestingly was the year when things started to improve for me. I basically didn't make any progress from 2018 to 2022. I was just up and down, up and down, up and down. 2022, I got some results, and I was also doing like ozone therapy and things like that. Had a decent year, but I was still having issues like with acne and other things, which I'll get into later when I talk about what's improved. And then late 2023, so about after a year after I'd improved, so I went a good year and then I regressed. I was in a moldy home. I had Campylobacter infection after doing the primal diet. And yeah, so I just got out of mold and I was like, oh crap, okay, what am I going to do? I felt so toxic. I just remember this feeling of just feeling so toxic. And yes, the mold was a factor, but I knew there was something more. I knew that something I was doing was wrong, because I felt like I could be resilient to an extent to the mold. And like, why was I having acne? Why was I having all these issues when my colitis seemed to be good? It was very strange. But everything pointed to liver issues and bile issues. So that's when I started to kind of revisit the vitamin A stuff, because I had been exposed to it. I'd heard about it previously and I was very resistant to it. I think I first heard about it from the Power of Ozone, that channel. I was on Paola's email list and she sent an email out, and I remember seeing that. Frank Tofano also seemed to be, he talks a lot about liver injury, right, and liver detox. He doesn't talk about vitamin A, which is really interesting. Even though I'm pretty sure he's doing a low vitamin A diet, if you look at his diet. I did come across Dr. Garrett Smith and Grant Generoux. I'll leave links in the description because they're really useful resources. Yeah, so I came across that. I kind of just let it marinate. I don't know. I'm trying to remember why I didn't follow through with it. I guess I just got distracted and, got into the whole primal stuff, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I really wish that I had looked into it a bit more, but I just kind of scratched the surface and then let it sit. But luckily, I knew about it. So at the start of 2024, I was very open to it, because obviously I was in a terrible situation. I didn't know what I was going to do. Then I took cholestyramine. And cholestyramine is a bile acid sequestrant, which means it binds to bile acids. I took this because it's used quite a lot in the mold space. So mold and bile are definitely related. Mold mycotoxins need to be excreted through bile, and to do that, you can use fiber, you can use a bile acid sequestrant. So cholestyramine is used quite a lot. So I thought, okay, I had some around. I just gave it a go, and I felt terrible. Last time I took it, I did not feel that bad, but this time it was horrendous. It triggered rectal bleeding, so my ulcerative colitis kind of flared up, and I had complete body aches. I was just feeling awful. I just wanted to lie down and do nothing. So that kind of told me that there's something going on with bile, and I knew it was more than mold. And so after that, I started taking activated charcoal, and that really helped just undo that damage. But charcoal, you also got to be careful, I have to be careful, because I think if I take too much of it, as I would increase the dose, I would get those same symptoms. So to me, it just seems like bile is really, really, really important when it comes to at least my condition, but I think a lot of conditions really. So I did that. And then I remember in February, I hadn't had liver in a while. So I went and got some sausages that had liver and kidneys mixed in. And I literally felt like a high for a bit, and then I just felt my entire body got itchy, and it was a weird experience. And it was like a way of my body telling me, this isn't great. Like, this is not, it felt like a drug, it felt like a drug. And a lot of people describe that feeling when they have liver as they have like a high, which I don't think is normal. I don't think that's how we're supposed to feel when we eat something. And also it's really high in copper, and I have copper toxicity from a hair test. It was extremely high, like way off the chart. So it could have been more of a copper thing than a vitamin A thing, but I thought at that stage, Dr. Garrett Smith covers both topics a lot. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna give this a go. It requires very little diet changes from my end. I pretty much had to just switch out the ghee and the butter for other things, cut down on the eggs, cut down on the dairy, not eat fruits like mango. So basically what I started eating, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do this, just give it a go and see what happens. I pretty much ate mostly beef, other meats like chicken and lamb, and white rice and potatoes, bananas, apples. Yeah, they were like, I'm pretty sure they were like my staples, and they still are to this day. And I'm very satisfied with that food list. I don't really need to deviate very much. Like, I have other things that come in, right? But, if they're 90% of my foods, I feel completely satisfied and satiated. I just adjust the carbs and the fats and the stuff, the proteins, in accordance with what I feel is right. But for the most part, I'm pretty satisfied. I haven't had cravings for eggs, which used to be my favorite food, and cheese and like dairy and stuff. Like, if I was vitamin A deficient, I feel like I'd have cravings for them. Maybe I've just brainwashed myself into thinking that they're bad, but I still eat them. Like, I don't really have that sort of dogmatic view, but a lot of people have also experienced that, where eggs kind of start to disgust them a little bit. And yeah, I definitely don't want to eat many. Like, one egg's all right. I don't want to do what I used to do, which is like 3 or 4 eggs. It's not for me. Okay, I'm just checking my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, so that was the end of February. Within like a month, I had already gained like 4 kilos, and I've always been underweight, literally always been underweight. We're talking like 55 kilos, and I'm I'm like 180 centimeters. So that's low BMI. I've always had trouble gaining weight, no matter what diet, no matter how much I eat. It's always been a problem. But just then I shot up to like 60, which is a massive improvement. And the thing is, that weight stuck. It wasn't just a transient, like temporary thing. It actually stayed. And so I feel like that was my sign to say, okay, definitely onto something here. So that was a huge win for me, huge W. But as I kind of progressed, also my digestion got better. Like, all the digestive stuff really improved, especially as I'd start to get the charcoal going. The diarrhea would kind of settle down. Going to the bathroom overnight, like, if you're doing number 2s overnight, it definitely means it's a clear sign of bile acid malabsorption, which in my mind is just too much bile in the intestines, and so the charcoal soaks that up. And so when you have that bile dump overnight, it doesn't cause as much of an issue. So yeah, that really improved my skin as well. And I'll get into this stuff at the end in terms of what's improved, but that started to improve as well. I used to have acne all the time. Right now, obviously, I'm sunburnt, but yeah, I don't have any acne, which is like it's probably the first time that I've had clear skin for like months on end. I always have something come up, but to me, that's a sign that my liver's in a better spot. So yeah, as I got into it and as I started to increase the soluble fiber, I noticed that I would have like bile dumping. And this is a concept that Dr. Garrett Smith talks about. Basically, there are agitators like increasing fiber, getting too much sun like I just did, heat like sauna, that can, as stress, that can increase bile production. And for me, I think I can get that in my intestines, so that will cause more diarrhea. But if it ends up in the bloodstream, then I'll get like body aches and fatigue, and I'll also get nausea when it ends up in the gut. So this was a pattern that just kept going on for me. As I got a few months in, my liver just started to dump heaps of bile. And this caused me the most problems on this program. So I noticed that these symptoms were very similar to what I did with what I experienced after taking cholestyramine. So that just told me there's definitely something going on with bile. So I just had to keep an eye on this, and for the most part I was able to keep them under control just by not pushing things too hard, being aware of those agitators, not doing the program too fast. I started the supplements pretty slow, like I did zinc. I was already on molybdenum. I started doing apple pectin, which really helped, but as I would do like one capsule, I would start to get some symptoms. So even just one capsule. So you just have to go really slow, especially for me. I'm just so toxic. Then I added like oats. When I added the oats, I noticed I started getting green stools, and I'm not eating any green. So people tend to get this. They can get yellow stools or green stools. The green might be copper. I'm not sure. Given I'm copper toxic, I have a feeling that it is. And I was getting that for a long time, like 6 months, up until now, recently. And every time I would have like a bile dump, like I would get those symptoms, I would also have more green in the stool. So there was a clear connection. There's a clear connection between those things. And if I knew better, I would have come down on the oats to avoid going too fast. But I liked having them in, they made me feel good. I used to not be able to tolerate oats, so it was nice to be able to eat them again. But then I had my first like proper bile dump. Like it was an intense one. I went to the sauna, came back. Next day I was just, it was like I took the cholestyramine. Not as bad, but I was going to the bathroom a lot, and very tired. Lasted like a few weeks. Wasn't fun. But then things calmed down. Then I moved back to Queensland, which is hotter than where I was in New South Wales, and we were approaching summer, and I was just getting so much sun, like I've just done. See, I don't learn from my lessons. This is like the real problem here, is that this is why I need to make these videos, so that I can remind myself of these experiences. And I encourage you guys to do the same. Like, keep a journal of all your stuff. Be aware of how things affect you, because I was getting too much sun. I just have a good time out, on the beach, enjoying stuff, and it would trigger a bile dump every time. The next day I would just have like that body ache and the fatigue, and sometimes digestive issues. So that's really important to be aware of, I think, if you want to do this. So that like continued. I moved here in September, and that like continued on and off through to Christmas, and then I had my ulcerative colitis flared up, which is pretty under control now. I have no symptoms at the moment, but I'm on medications. So I'll cover this in another video, but basically I just think that I pushed it too far. So we'll see. I will do another update at like maybe in 6 months' time, and talk about that. But you've got to be very careful on this program. But on the whole, so that's the bad part. What improved? So compared to 2023, things that I notice is that, my acne's all gone. Like, that's a big win for me, because I used to always have breakouts. I would actually have breakouts on the program during a bile dump. Like, I'd have something come up, but it was never anything crazy. I used to have like this really bad cystic acne, like here. In 2023, it was so bad. The other thing I noticed is that I was just a lot less angry, like more at peace with, once I was on this program for like, 2 or 3 months, I started feeling a lot less angry, especially now at the year mark. I feel like the liver in Chinese medicine, the liver is connected with anger. And so I think it's definitely true. It's definitely true. You know, I still, obviously, you know, I'm a human, I still get angry, and it's important not to like suppress anger. It's a very important emotion because it drives us to do things. I don't believe in any of this new age bullshit where, you know, we're not supposed to be angry. It's very important. But it doesn't come up unnecessarily for me anymore. And I was repressing it in the past. So nowadays I kind of let it out and, you know, it goes away. When it's here, and, you know, it passes. Whereas a lot of people are just always angry and they're always stuck up. And I feel that liver health is kind of the crux of that, along with gut health, of course, the microbiome. So obviously my weight improved on the program. Dry eyes would often come up like every year or so. Interestingly, dry eyes, xerophthalmia is supposed to be caused by vitamin A deficiency. And this is like the irony of this whole topic that you can find more about in Grant Generoux's book. Yeah, so my eyes feel very lubricated. If that comes up, I will cover it. But yeah, anyway, chronic fatigue. So my energy levels are really, really good. I was having a lot of fatigue, especially around the time I started this program. Like, it was awful. The brain fog as well. I'm able to think a lot more clearly than before. Especially mold brain is just awful. When you're in mold, you just literally can't think straight and you become so emotional. And that's the other thing that's improved. I'm just feel a lot less emotional, like mental issues. My mental health's definitely a lot better than before, which is really important in this day and age. Yeah, I feel I kind of wish I tested like testosterone levels. I might try and get that tested because I've seen Dr. Garrett Smith get, you know, very good improvements, and a lot of his clients as well. And I definitely feel, if I look at like the signs or markers of that, I feel like it has improved, which is good. You know, like sex drive, things like that, libido, and that's important. That's a sign of a healthy human. I think I used to have when I was sick, well, when I do get sick, I lose my libido, but when I was, you know, especially when I was first diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, like, it really just wasn't there for a long period of time, and that's pretty concerning. So yeah, that's the main things that have improved. I'll see how things progress. I might notice other things, but the digestive stuff, of course, like, I don't know what to say about it because I just had a flare up, but I'm on medications, which is that's a loss. But ultimately, I don't have any side effects from the medications, and I intend to be off them, you know, down the line. But this is a long process. I'm not going to get into this now. It's too big. But all you need to know is my digestive issues seem to be completely gone, which is great. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I guess all I would say from my biggest takeaway from this is be open-minded. Maybe give it a go if you feel like you're suffering a little bit on, you know, an animal-based diet or just some sort of diet that seems to have a high vitamin A content. You know, first of all, look at your vitamin A content, see how much you're consuming, and see how long you've been doing that for. Look at the signs for vitamin A toxicity. Just give it a go, see what happens. You know, I'm really grateful that I've come across this because it's hardly even talked about online, and I feel like I've kind of stumbled across something of a gold mine. I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, ultimately all that matters is how you feel, and if you improve on this, that's great. If you don't, whatever, just leave it. Is it for everyone? I don't know. I think a lot of people are toxic these days, so it probably will help a lot of people. If it's not the vitamin A, it might be something else that Dr. Garrett Smith talks about, because he has some really good views that align with kind of everything that I've learned over the last 7 years. So even just listening to some of his live streams, I feel like you'll pick up on a lot of useful information. But yeah, where I want to go from here, I want to get out of this ulcerative colitis mess that I was just in. You know, right now symptoms are great, so I want to keep, you know, improving in that area and basically just maintain what I've got, because I can't think of anything else that needs to improve. Yeah. Cool. Well, I will do another check-in in like 6 months, and just to keep myself accountable as well. It's very helpful for me to do this because I sometimes go off track, and especially, for example, like I think there was a bit of stress that came up late last year that might have triggered the ulcerative colitis stuff. So it's really important to be aware of that, because that will just derail anything that comes. Like any diet you're doing will just be derailed by stress. So make sure you got that under control. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. See ya.